We have all had painful events in our lives that can lead to depression, anxiety, addiction, or broken relationships. But here's a secret. It is not about what happened to us that causes suffering. It's the stories we believe about ourselves. Join us as we shine light on how to rewrite our stories, avoid the shadows of shame, and travel along the pathway to joy, love, and connection. It's the Finding Peace podcast with your host, Amazon best-selling author, Troy L. Love.
In this episode of the Finding Peace podcast, you get to meet my dear friend, Rafael. Rafael is an amazing architect. He is a father of two beautiful children, and he was a participant at one of our Finding Peace retreats a few years ago. I've been able to get to know him over the last few years, and his heart is warm, he's honest, and I call him a dear friend. So please help me welcome Rafael to the Finding Peace podcast. Hey, buddy.
Hey, how's it going, Troy?
Good. How are you?
Good. I am finishing out my day, but really starting out my evening, right?
Nice. How have you been?
Been getting really busy with my new project that I've been assigned to, or I took the assignment. So
Yeah.
it's just been now taking up a lot of my time. So that's good. It's challenging for me.
I bet.
Yeah.
You're working on that big old hotel there, right?
Yeah, it's a hotel, an international work, which I am not as experienced with. So it's definitely very interesting and a learning experience, to say the least. Learning a lot.
I'm so proud of you.
Oh, thank you.
Yeah. Well, thank you for being willing to be on the podcast with me today.
Well, you're welcome. I thought I would not jump, but maybe inch into the opportunity to do this when you sent out the invitation. So it's a good exercise. I love your work. I love what you do in the healing seat. So might as well do it again.
Awesome. What is it that you want to have a little bit more peace, joy, or comfort about in your life right now?
The subject that keeps revolving around my head is my energy around intimacy avoidance. Being open and vulnerable to expose myself or to be authentic without all of the criticism and shame surrounding whether people like me or not. So,
is there anybody in particular that you struggle doing that with, or is that everybody?
I think that there is a sense that it is everybody, because I think I've always had a long history of being quiet and therefore kind of aloof and shallow in my interaction with a lot of people. I've used the I'm a great listener technique to hear people and then avoid speaking about myself.
Oh, you do that too? I'm really good at that.
Yeah, it has served me well in some forums. It just doesn't serve me well when I want to be in intimate relationships.
So is there a specific experience recently where that happened?
The one I'm thinking is really is with my ex-wife, right?
Your former spouse?
Former spouse. It's been a long-standing trait of mine to not be vulnerable with her in our many years of marriage. So I think recently, because of our housing situation, which we still live together, she's a very avid traveler. She travels a lot, and I've always pretended that I don't like traveling or avoided it because of other circumstances in my life. Primarily, I use finances as my avoidance to not join her in a lot of travels. And so last 2 weeks ago, we were having a conversation about that, about traveling, and she brought up the issue of being married and not having made any plans for vacations during our marriage, and never made any plans, quite frankly. And so we had a great conversation about planning another trip, even though we're divorced, but still planning a trip. And I had such a hard time with it, committing to it. And it took about a month before I literally did break down in vulnerability and explain to her where I was, just emotionally. And she was very gracious about listening to me, and it was just so hard. I literally did break down in trying to get past my fears of just being vulnerable. So ultimately, it was a great conversation again, experiencing that. But it was almost one of the few, if not first times, in which I expressed a lot of my really deep fears of, the core beliefs of not being good enough, and not being deserving is a big one that came to light. Yeah, that was probably the most recent one.
So if I were going to watch that on a camera, that conversation, not you breaking down, but earlier, like wine time, and she's brought up the possibility of going on vacation, and I'm watching that on a camera, what would I see?
Well, you would see her just asking me, are you going to make a decision about this trip? What's holding you back? I mean, I need to know whether I need to make plans with or without you, because I've always made plans on my own, and I don't want to wait anymore. Are you in or are you out? And on the other side of the table, I'm just stonewalling and thinking in my head and just nervous and thinking inside of me, I do want to go. I do want to do this, but I get hijacked. So you're seeing me literally just stonewalling and
frozen,
shutting down.
Yeah.
Yes.
So where, in general, is the location?
The location is in Europe, in Spain.
Okay. So you want to go?
I do.
All right. So there's this invitation to go to Spain on vacation. That's the fact, right?
Yeah.
And just that invitation alone, what wounds get activated with that invitation?
It's typically, I always feel rejection that comes in, and I'm always fighting neglect. Those are typically my biggest issues, because if I say no, I feel like I rejected her, but at the same time, I'm not being authentic to what I really want. And I tend to maybe reject myself. I rejection. And then, I guess abandonment creeps in because I feel left behind, or I leave myself behind.
Yeah.
Right.
You've graduated to phase 2, where you start to realize I do these wounds to myself, right?
Oh, yes.
You said earlier that there's some core beliefs around vacations. I'm not worthy, or I'm undeserving. What are the core beliefs that go with going on vacation?
I don't deserve it.
Hmm.
I don't deserve a vacation. I don't deserve fun, time off.
For how long have you believed that you don't deserve vacation, fun, time off?
Oh, well, a long time. I think, 0 to 8, so maybe 7, 8 years old. I think it might have been even earlier than that, because my family was formed very quickly. I have 6 siblings, and they're all within a 10-year period. So by the time when I was born, my sister came exactly 360 days after I was born.
Oh, wow.
And then another sister, another brother, and then 2 more brothers after that. So I just have 1 older brother. So I know now that neglect wound is old, and but I had for many, many, many years felt angry about, after not even being a year old, the attention was just not there for me. So I believe that's just probably when I started developing that. Well, then I guess I don't deserve the attention. I don't deserve to be noticed or to be taken care of. And again, I was taken care of by food and housing and all that. But my parents were very unemotional or detached. So that's just a built-in structure that I needed to take care of myself. That's kind of what I ended up developing into.
And part of taking care of yourself did not include fun and vacations and
No, because I was one of the good kids in the family. So I helped a lot, did a lot of chores, did a lot of things, was an A student. I was a kid that brought home the report card, and my mom signed it. So, okay, you're straight A's, you're good to go. We got other problems over here with the family.
So when you got older and you moved out on your own, and you could go on vacation if you wanted to, what would prevent you from doing that?
Well, I always also had a very bad relationship with money.
Okay.
So that's another area in my life in which I also didn't feel that I deserved money. So I was very bad at managing money, meaning I pretty much spent everything I earned. And I used to hide under the premise that I don't care about money. So even to this day, I don't see myself as a good manager of money. So it still continues. I don't deserve it.
So there are some shadows all around this.
Oh yeah. Oh, yeah.
So which shadows are telling you you don't deserve to have money, you don't deserve to have fun, you don't deserve to go on vacation?
Well, I've always considered the judge to be the biggest impediment in my progress. Is the judge just tells me I don't deserve it. The martyr has been a big one for me because, again, I have always felt like as long as I do for others, who cares about me? I just need to be doing everything for everybody else. So, and then the impotent one is that creepy little one that just says, and nothing's going to change. This is just the way it is.
Just the way it is.
Just the way it is.
I think there's a song about that. So your judge, what does your judge look like?
Well, my judge is just very stern. In all honesty, it looks like my dad.
Okay. So can you channel your judge for a second, and can I talk to him?
Sure.
Okay. So I'm curious, Judge, what evidence you have, or what's the reasoning you're using that says that Rafael is not worthy to go on vacation? He's not worthy to go on vacation with his former spouse. He's never been worthy or deserving of going on vacation. He's not worthy of having abundance. He's not worthy of having money. Like, what are you using to base that judgment on?
Work and achieving is the most important thing. If you don't work, then you can't have anything. Focus yourself on working hard.
So you don't think Rafael works hard enough?
Well, it's obvious he doesn't work hard enough because he's not making any money and he doesn't have enough to provide for his family and why would he be able to go on vacations?
So your expectation is that he works every working day of the year, no vacations, no holidays, just work.
Work ethic. That's what makes you successful.
Oh, you don't think Rafael has a good work ethic?
Not good enough.
Oh, it's not enough. Oh.
Every time he's having fun, he's not focused on the right thing.
And for you, the right thing is working. Where did you learn that that's the ultimate value?
Because I've had to work all my life.
Well, just because you do doesn't mean Rafael does. Like, did somebody model that for you, that you came up with this idea that Rafael has to work all the time?
Yes, my father modeled that for me.
Oh, so I see. So this is you're trying to pass on the generational trait of just working yourself to death. So Rafael, like, what does your dad do nowadays?
His doctor forced him to retire at 83.
Oh, because if his doctor hadn't forced him, he still would be working.
Yeah.
No vacations for him either. So let me talk to the judge again. So what if Rafael wants to go on vacation?
He has to prove to me that he deserves it.
What does he have to do to prove that he deserves to go on vacation?
He has to have enough money in the bank. He has to have enough vacation time. He has to make sure that everything else is taken care of in his life.
Has he ever done that?
Very seldom.
Like, how much money does he have to have in the bank before he can go on vacation?
At least enough to pay for the vacation.
So if he doesn't have enough, he's not worthy of it.
Because you'll just get into more credit card debt.
You don't want him to be in debt? Why not?
Because it's a sign of weakness to be in debt.
Maybe. I mean, I can appreciate you wanting him to be debt-free, but because he's not debt-free, he therefore is unworthy. He's undeserving.
No. And have a debt before you do anything.
So, Rafael, what was it like to hear him say all that?
It's the norm. It doesn't. I'm numbed out to it. It's the voice that is in my hijacked me.
Yeah.
20 hours a day.
Is that what you teach your kids?
No.
What do you teach your kids?
Balance your life.
But you can't do that.
Not been able to, no.
What makes you want to go to Europe?
Well, I mean, I think that's my truth.
You want to go.
My truth is I want to go.
And you're afraid that?
I'm afraid that the judge just will continue to be a monkey on my back.
So the biggest word that the judge is telling you is you don't deserve to go.
Yeah, I don't deserve to go.
Does anybody deserve to go?
No.
That's right. Nobody deserves anything.
Nobody deserves.
Right? You probably heard me say that. None of us deserve anything.
That's a little bit of the royal, isn't it?
That's right. The royal's like, you deserve this, right? So nobody deserves anything.
Right.
But we are worthy. We're worthy of everything.
Right.
What comes up?
Yeah, it's I'm countering the judge by being a royal.
Well, yeah.
I deserve it. I'm entitled to this vacation.
Right.
And that's not authentic either.
No. What I'm hearing is authentic is you want to go.
Yeah.
But I can't tell my former spouse I want to go because
I hijacked by the judge telling me I don't deserve to go.
What other things does the judge tell you are undeserving of?
I have a very false sense of humility that is driven by the judge. So the success that I have in my career, even down to the house I own and the car I drive, I have that borderline guilt or shame of having them.
You don't deserve to have a nice car. You don't deserve to have a nice home.
I have more times feel that than, I love my house or I love my car or anything, or my career or my job or the success I've had in my job. I remember a little story, if I may, that one of our closest friends asked me when we did move into I live in a very, very nice neighborhood, and they came over and they said, "Oh, this is fabulous! It's fabulous! I mean, so glad you have this." And I said something to the effect of, like, "Well, I have more than I deserve. I have a lot more. I've exceeded anything that I thought I would ever have in my life, because my bar is so low."
And does that inspire gratitude or does that inspire shame?
It inspired shame at the time.
Yeah. That there's something wrong with you that you have so much.
Yes, absolutely. I have suffered from imposter syndrome a lot also.
So you've probably never heard me ask this question before, but what's the contract that you've made? What's the contractual agreement that you've made with the judge? If you go along with what the judge tells you, that you're not worthy of any of this stuff, then what do you get in return?
And the word that comes to mind is stay in your place. Oppression.
You get to be oppressed.
I get to be oppressed.
You get to be locked in.
Yes.
And what does that do for you?
I guess, again, I false sense of humility. Like, I don't get to boast. I don't get to brag. I don't get to be conceited. I don't get to be, selfish. I don't get to be.
So it locks you in. You're not arrogant. You're not boastful. Yeah. And so what does that do for you?
It gives me the best possibility of being liked.
Yeah. People will accept you if you stay in the box.
Yes.
People will. At least that's the contract. The judge is like, I promise you that if you do this, then you'll be liked, you'll be admired, your needs will be met.
Yeah, absolutely.
Nobody will hurt you.
Mm-hmm. And just use your politician shame to make sure nobody knows who you are.
So, does he follow through on his part of the commitment? In other words, do people like you?
Yeah. I mean, yeah, people like me. But I feel inauthentic.
So they like you because you stay in the box?
Yeah, they don't know I'm in the box, but yeah, I guess they know who I am. I mean, it's with my former spouse, that she's like, I don't know who I'm dealing with anymore. Is this the old you or the new you? Are you authentic, or are you still that imposter or that person that was in the box?
Well,
more and more, I'm out of the box.
So what you told me is a couple of weeks ago when she asked you, hey, you got to tell me if you're going to go or not, you were in the box. And then recently you were out of the box.
Yeah, during that conversation, I literally, during that conversation, had to talk to my shadows and move them aside and get them away and come to that very vulnerable place where my truth was, I want to go.
What does it feel like being? Yeah, it's so beautiful. What does it feel like being in that box?
Familiar.
Mm-hmm. Comfortable.
In a lot of ways, safe.
Yeah. Well, I mean, it makes sense in a weird way. Like, you're in there being protected, and I'm putting that in quotation marks, but being protected, but you're also not being you. So when you step out of the box, what does that feel like?
Very uncomfortable.
Mm-hmm.
I have actually recently, over the last 6 or 8 months, all thanks to you, which I actually have compliment to you, I have had minor anxiety attacks when I come out of the box.
You're welcome. I'm so glad. Well, I mean, I can validate that probably, I mean, it feels scary, and it also makes sense because for years and years and years, you've been in that glass box. I mean, you just going home and having your mom sign your your report card showing that you got straight A's is you being in the box,
Mm-hmm.
right?
Yeah.
Because if you came home and you had not good grades, what would your mother do?
Oh, yeah. When I was in junior college is when I started to falter and become a bit more rebellious.
Mm.
And I started getting talkings to, and I I used my politician and just I didn't want to hear any of that because I wasn't used to hearing the things that were being told to all my, to several of my brothers and sisters. I didn't want to be part of that. I avoided those conversations.
And part of the way that you avoided them was by being in the box, being the
Well,
good boy,
mm-hmm.
all that stuff.
Right.
So that's the irony. So the contract you've made with the judge and the other shadows is as long as you stay in the box, you'll be safe.
Well,
But you can't be real.
that's right. That's what I've felt most of my life is that I'm not real. And like I said, I feel like an imposter many times.
Mm-hmm. So you stepped out and you told her, I want to go.
Yeah.
And how did that feel?
Very scary
Mm-hmm.
because, it goes against all of those shame shadows because I don't know how I'm going to get there. I don't know what I'm going to do. I don't know. I don't know the practicalities of it, but my truth is I want to go.
So what I'm hearing is that the moment that you speak, I want to go, then other shadows show up and say, yeah, but what about this? And what about that? And all that
Exactly.
stuff.
Yes.
Right.
They step in.
And they're doing that kind of like what your mom would do when you started to get lesser than stellar grades. She would start to lecture you the way, and that's all an attempt to put you back in the box.
Yeah. Yeah. I see that.
So it's like, oh, you're being vulnerable. We got to put you back in there. You can't be out. But after you said it, what did your former spouse do?
Well, in effect, she was very pleased, very proud, and very relieved, and it was a good conversation. Like I said, she gave me a lot of grace for it. And it wasn't. I'm the one who had the rough time. She just sat there and listened to me go through all of the monkeys coming off my back and battling them and bringing them, and she's like, okay, then let's explore how we're going to do this. And you take care of your side, I'll take care of my side, and we've got this is about a year away, so it's like we'll figure it out. We'll figure it out.
Yeah. And how does that feel?
It initially felt like I jumped off a cliff with faith, and then I remember I've heard this metaphor recently, and then I realized I have a parachute I can pull.
Yeah.
I'm not free falling into nothing. It's like there's ways, there's safety nets, I can figure this out. I have time to figure this out.
So I want you to imagine that you have the contract in front of you. And this contract says, hey, Rafael, if you stay in the box, we promise you, and there's a list of all these promises. You won't be hurt. You won't be rejected. You won't be neglected. You won't be abandoned. But you just have to stay in this box. And they want you to sign the dotted line. Do you want to sign it?
No.
No?
No. I've done enough work and been through enough recovery and experience and your work and many others' work that all of them, as I see them on that list, all of them don't, the toxic versions of all of those don't serve. They
No,
don't serve me.
no. So you have this little boy, Rafael. You have a teenage Rafael. You have a 20-ish Raphael, and up we go. And if you were going to make a contract with them, dear past versions of myself, dear younger versions of myself, I promise you that I'm going to blank, and then you'll get blank. What are you willing to promise your younger selves, and what are the benefits that they'll get?
I think that the only thing that keeps, well, the first thing that keeps coming up is I promise, my current self promise to protect and take care of you, and you will get a lot more joy in your life.
Are you willing to get out of the box to do that?
My judge is like right here.
Oh yeah. And he's like, no,
No.
stay in there. So let me ask it a different way. As long as you're in the box, how well can you protect your younger selves? How well can you provide for their needs? How well can you attend to them, accept them, all those things?
Not very well, because I don't see them as me.
Mm. Mm.
I've learned through you that they are external voices that hijack me. They
That's
want
right.
to take me over, so they're not me.
That's right.
So they wouldn't serve them.
No. So if we use logic, the only option then to take care of you and your younger selves is to get out of the box. As scary as that is.
It is scary.
Mm-hmm.
It takes a lot of energy to keep them at bay, keep that, stay out of the box. Well,
It does, especially at the beginning. However, when you start, it's like if you ever decided you were going to build muscle, you start with a lighter weight and it's hard. And then as you continue to practice, you'll move up to a heavier weight and you'll be able to do more reps. And then a little bit longer, you're heavier weight and you're able to do more reps and your muscles are stronger and those kind of things. And so part of that is little practices of speaking the truth. So you wake up in the morning and you just kind of tell me whatever comes up. You wake up in the morning and your judge tells you that you don't deserve blank today. What's the blank?
this is common. You're not going to have time, and you don't deserve to have lunch today.
Oh, perfect. You don't deserve to have lunch today. You wasted too much time. What's the truth?
The truth is, I'll be hungry and I want to eat.
Oh, I want lunch today.
Mm-hmm.
What do you want to eat?
Lunch is typically small, but like a sandwich, chips.
I want lunch today.
Mm-hmm.
So you say to the judge, well, actually, I want lunch today. And the judge says,
Well, the judge will say, you're not going to have time. You don't deserve lunch today. You need to get all of A, B, C, D, E, F, G done.
and then your loving self says,
Work will always be there. You can take an hour off to have something to eat.
you can tend to your physical needs so that you have the energy to do the rest of the day.
Mm-hmm.
Are you worthy of that?
Yeah.
Mm. So just breathe that in. I'm worthy of taking care of my physical body through proper nutrition.
It it almost feels logical.
What the heck? That's so funny. You may have heard of the concept of sharpen the saw. In fact, I've referred to it before on the podcast, but it comes from a book by Stephen R. Covey called The 7 Habits of Highly Effective People.
Mm-hmm.
And he talks about these two woodsmen, and they decide to have a contest. And the first woodman is cutting down the trees. They're going to see how many trees they can cut down by the end of the day. The first woodman, he goes in and he just starts sawing and going to town and just chopping trees, and he just doesn't stop. He doesn't stop all day. He doesn't stop for lunch. He doesn't stop to take a break. He doesn't stop at all. He just keeps sawing and sawing and sawing, chopping tree after tree after tree. The second one, he will saw 2 or 3 trees, and then he'll stop and he'll sharpen the saw, and then he'll cut down a couple more, and then he'll stop and he'll sharpen the saw. He'll take lunch, he'll drink some water, and then he'll continue to chop down some more trees, stop, and sharpen the saw. The first guy looks over there and thinks, what an idiot. Like, he's gonna lose this thing. At the end of the day, who do you think cut down more trees?
Sharpening the saw.
Yeah. It cut through the wood faster. He didn't have to use as much energy. He was able to take breaks. So we won, right? So he talks about taking time for recreation, and he breaks that word down and he says recreation. Recreation. So going on vacation is a chance to recreate, to renew, to experience something wonderful that we can reflect on. But our shadows want us to be like woodsman number 1 and stay in that box and work hard and don't stop and just keep going and going. Which one feels more free? Which one feels more open?
Well, recreation feels more open, feels more energizing.
Mm-hmm.
I know I've always complained about being exhausted and being tired, and just keep going. Just doesn't make for a lot of fun, even with my former spouse. It's just conversations are not good because I'm always just talking about work, and I don't know what that saying is. No work, all work and no play. And makes Johnny a dull boy or something.
Right. So stepping out of the box, jumping out of the box with your parachute is daunting. And so sometimes we step out with a toe, or we step out with one foot, and you speak a truth and you test it. It's like an experiment. So I want lunch today, and you test it. And then you follow through and you get yourself lunch today. I want to go to Europe, and you share that with your former spouse and you test it. And you say, oh, wow, it's interesting. The more that I'm authentic and real, the happier I am, even though the shadows are like, oh.
Well, yeah, small steps.
The thing that makes the shadows shut up the most is truth, light and truth. But they're really good at clouding that, so you can't see it.
Yeah. For so long, I've not. That's a great graphic. Not seeing myself in the box, but all of those characters have been driving my life, and I've just let them, or was unconscious to them driving my life.
Right. So now you get to drive your life. That's a big smile on your face.
That feels authentic and that feels joyful. I love that. Great.
Mm-hmm. So in those moments when you feel anxious, I've taught you a little bit about remembering to breathe.
Mm-hmm.
going and putting your putting your feet on the grass, getting yourself grounded to the earth and breathing that in, and then reminding yourself, I don't deserve anything, but I'm worthy of having a sandwich today.
Yeah.
And I want it to be peanut butter and jelly or whatever. whatever you want your sandwich to be. I'm worthy of having a sandwich today. My body needs food today, and I'm going to give it to it.
It's a great practice for me because that is one of the areas in my beingness that I truly neglect.
Mm-hmm.
And I use food as a control mechanism, and usually it's the deprivation of food that I eat.
Well, and that's interesting. The more that I learn about deprivation, which is just stirring up those wounds of neglect and rejection, the more that we do that, the more needy we become. And then the more likely we're going to numb out with unhealthy behaviors, trying to deal with the deprivation, when if we had been able to lean in and speak truth, there wouldn't have been any deprivation in the first place. How you feeling?
I feel very at peace and relaxed right now, actually. I was very nervous coming into this.
Yeah.
Very anxious. But you just have a wonderful way of making everything comfortable. So.
Well, thank you. But I love being with you too. You make me feel comfortable, so I appreciate it.
Yeah, so I see it as an open conversation right now.
Beautiful. Well, I hope that you're able to hold on to that peace, feel it in your body, and hold on to that.
I know I will, because this is very meaningful to me, and you did really give me a couple of aha moments and light bulb moments that I didn't see before.
Well, thank you for letting me. I love you.
Thank you. I love you too.
You've been listening to the Finding Peace podcast. If you love the show or want to ask a question, let us know by going to findingpeaceconsulting.com. There, you can also learn about the Finding Peace 5-Day Challenge. Remember to subscribe to this podcast so you won't miss the next episode. And if you are listening on iTunes, please give us a 5-star rating. It really does help other people find this podcast more easily. Thank you for spending part of your journey with us. And a special thanks to Johnny Porter for producing the show, and A.G. Flux for the new background music. Copyright Finding Peace Consulting.